everybody, welcome back to another episode of Drug Talk. As always, I'm your host, Garrett Campbell. Today we're going to be discussing a medication known as Ondansetron. Its brand name is Zofran. But before I talk about the medication itself, just keep in mind that this channel is for information purposes only and not to be used as a source for recommendations for your personal health care. So Ondansetron is a selective 5-HT3 antagonist that's usually seen being used in the treatment of chemotherapy-induced nausea or vomiting. It may work by blocking 5-HT3 receptors peripherally on vagal nerve terminals and centrally in the chemoreceptor trigger zone. In terms of indications for use, Ondansetron is indicated to be used in the treatment of chemotherapy-induced nausea and vomiting. We can see it used in post-operative nausea and vomiting. And finally, we also see it used in radiation-induced nausea and vomiting. Now, before somebody was to use Ondansetron or Zofran, there are some contraindications that they must clear, as well as some precautions and warnings that they should be made aware of. This medication will be contraindicated in individuals who are also using apomorphine. And Ondansetron would also be contraindicated in patients who have a hypersensitivity to Ondansetron or any other component of the product. Now, in terms of precautions, QT prolongation and potentially fatal torsade de pointes is a possibility with this medication. Therefore, monitoring is recommended in patients who have electrolyte imbalances, bradyarrhythmias, as well as congestive heart failure. We would want to, as best as possible, avoid this medication in patients who have congenital long QT syndrome. We would want to use this medication cautiously following abdominal surgery or in its use in chemotherapy-induced nausea and vomiting, as it may mask progressive ileus, gastric distension, or both. Hypersensitivity reactions, including anaphylaxis or bronchospasm, have been reported in patients who have shown hypersensitivity to 5-HT3 antagonists. We would want to discontinue the medication at the first sign of hypersensitivity. Serotonin syndrome, which can sometimes be fatal, has been reported with the use of Ondansetron. Patients would be at an increased risk of experiencing serotonin syndrome if they're also using other medications that affect serotonin levels. Because this medication does not induce gastric or intestinal peristalsis, it should never be used in the place of nasogastric suction. Now, once somebody is cleared of the contraindications and made aware of the precautions and warnings, and they start to use Ondansetron, they may receive their dose in tablet form, they can receive it intramuscularly or intravenously, and they can also receive it in an oral film. If somebody is using Ondansetron or Zofran to prophylactically treat their chemotherapy-induced nausea and vomiting, and they're using a chemotherapy that has a high risk of nausea and vomiting, an example dose would be 24 milligrams 30 minutes before the chemotherapy is given. If somebody is using Ondansetron prophylactically to treat their post-operative nausea and vomiting, they may place 16 milligrams on their tongue 1 hour prior to anesthesia being given. If somebody is receiving daily fractionated radiotherapy to the abdomen, they may use 8 milligrams dissolved on the tongue 1 or 2 hours before the radiation is given, and 8 hours after the first dose of radiotherapy is given each day. As with all medications, there are some side effects or adverse reactions that patients may experience while using Ondansetron or Zofran, so I'll go over some of those here now. 6 to 9% of patients may experience constipation, while 3 to 7% may experience diarrhea. Headache may occur in 9 to 27% of patients, and hypoxia may occur in 9% of patients. Feeling of fatigue or malaise is also a possibility. The more serious side effects would be an abnormality on an electrocardiogram, prolonged QT interval, and finally, serotonin syndrome. That's all we're going to talk about today with Ondansetron or Zofran. As always, I'm very thankful you took the time to come by and watch one of my videos. If you found the information valuable and you'd like to help grow this channel, you can like the videos, share the videos, or most importantly, subscribe to the YouTube channel. There's also some links in the description you can check out as well. That's it for today. Take care.